In the quiet village of Kandala, people loved meat. Every evening the small market filled with the smell of roasted beef and goat,
Kindly
and
subscribe
families
to
gathered
this
to buy
channel.
fresh cuts for dinner. Among the many sellers in the market was a struggling couple named Daniel and Miriam. They owned a small butcher stall at the far end of the market. Their wooden table was old, their knives dull, and their meat rarely sold. Across the road stood their biggest problem, a successful butcher named Mr. Banda. Banda's shop was always crowded. His meat looked fresh, red, and perfect. Customers lined up every day while Daniel and Miriam watched from across the road as flies gathered around their unsold meat. Day after day, the same painful scene repeated itself. "Why is nobody buying from us?" Miriam asked one evening as she wiped tears from her eyes. Daniel slammed his knife onto the table in frustration. "I don't understand," he muttered. "Our meat is good. Our prices are even cheaper." But deep inside, Daniel knew the truth. Their business was dying. Weeks turned into months. Their savings disappeared. Debt grew. Some nights they slept without dinner because they couldn't afford food. One night, while walking home in silence, Daniel spoke quietly. "There is someone who can help us." Miriam looked at him carefully. "Who?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "A barber who lives outside the village." Miriam's eyes widened. "You mean a witch doctor?" Daniel nodded slowly. "I heard people say he can change your destiny." For a moment, Miriam said nothing. Then she whispered the words that would change their lives forever. "Take me to him." The barber lived deep in the forest in a small hut surrounded by strange carvings and burning candles. When Daniel and Miriam entered, the air felt heavy. The old man sat in the center of the room, his eyes closed. Before they even spoke, he said softly, "You came because your business is dying." Daniel and Miriam froze. "How did you?" The barber opened his eyes and smiled. "I see many things." They told him everything. Their failing business. Their competitor. Their hunger. Their desperation. The barber listened silently. Then he stood up slowly and walked to a wooden shelf. From a small box, he removed 2 black rings and a small leather charm. "There is a way to make your butcher shop the most popular in the entire region," he said calmly. Daniel leaned forward. "What must we do?" The barber's smile slowly widened. "You will sell meat no one can resist." Miriam asked carefully. "What kind of meat?" The barber's voice became cold. "Human meat." Silence filled the room. Daniel's heart pounded. "That's madness." But the barber continued. "You will not kill anyone." He handed them the rings. "These rings will allow you to enter graveyards without being seen. The charm will guide you to fresh graves." Daniel swallowed. "And the meat?" "You will exhume the bodies," the barber said calmly. "Take what you need. Sell it as ordinary beef. Once people taste it, they will crave it forever." Miriam's hands trembled. "That is evil." But the barber leaned closer and whispered, "Do you want to remain poor forever?" Daniel looked at Miriam. They were tired. Tired of poverty. Tired of humiliation. Tired of watching others succeed while they struggled. Slowly, Daniel reached for the rings. The first night they went to the graveyard, the moon was hidden behind thick clouds. Daniel wore the ring. Miriam held the charm. The wind howled through the trees. The charm began to glow faintly. "It's pointing there," Miriam whispered. They walked toward a fresh grave. Daniel's hands shook as he began digging. Minutes later, the shovel struck the coffin. Miriam turned away as Daniel opened it. That night, they carried pieces of flesh back to their butcher shop. The next morning, they mixed the meat with ordinary beef and placed it on their stall. At first, nothing happened. Then the first customer arrived. He bought a small piece. Later that afternoon, he returned with 2 friends. "This is the best meat I have ever tasted," he said. Within a week, something strange happened. People stopped going to Mr. Banda's shop. Instead, they gathered around Daniel and Miriam's store. Soon the line stretched across the market. Customers argued over the last pieces of meat. Within months, the couple became the most successful butchers in Kandala. Money poured in. They built a huge mansion outside the village. Daniel bought an expensive black car. Miriam wore gold jewelry and fine clothes. They even began paying graveyard guards to look the other way at night. Their secret seemed safe. But not everyone believed their success was natural. Across the road, their old competitor Mr. Bonda watched them carefully. How did they become rich so quickly, he wondered. One night, curiosity turned into suspicion. He decided to follow them. Hidden in the shadows, Bonda watched as Daniel and Miriam drove toward the cemetery. He quietly followed on his motorcycle. From behind a tree, he saw something that made his blood freeze. Daniel and Miriam were digging up a grave. Bonda pulled out his phone and recorded everything. The coffin opening. The bodies. The flesh being cut. His hands trembled as he filmed. The next morning, the video spread across the internet like wildfire. Within hours, the entire country saw the truth. By midday, an angry crowd gathered outside Daniel and Miriam's mansion. Police sirens filled the air. People shouted in rage. "You fed us human flesh. We trusted you." By evening, the couple was arrested. Their butcher shop burned to the ground. Their mansion was seized. Their expensive car taken away. The rings and charms were discovered hidden inside their house. But the worst punishment was not prison. It was the horror of knowing the entire world now knew their secret. The couple who once dreamed of success became a warning whispered across villages.